Today Russia is divided, not equally, but divided, into those who support special operation in Ukraine and those who do not, are not something like 15%. But even the first ones are quite divided. Despite the fact that absolute majority support the operation in Ukraine, some blame Putin for dragging on too long, and even refuse to recognize the determination of the authorities. Of course, I will not go deep into the details of history of this conflict, but just remember, when the Russian army did not actively support the militia leader Girkin, many even launched the meme about Putin being too weak. Now when I look at what is happening, I'm quite impressed of the restraint and common sense of our president. Do you actually think he didn't want to strike them back? Do you think he didn't want to protect Donbas people from the West-backed neo-Nazi scums? He could do everything, but understood that at that time Russia was not ready for that. Now, after a long and painful 8 years, we are finally ready for that. Back then neither China, neither India and even CSTO allies wouldn't understand Russia's behavior. For 8 years civilians were not shelled as it was now. There was no sabotage by Kiev of Minsk II agreements. There were no NATO deliveries of weapons to Ukraine, and there was no unwillingness of NATO to guarantee Russia's security, as well as neither Kiev's desire to join NATO, nor NATO desire to accept Kiev. World saw this for 8 years, and now Russia's actions are absolutely logical. They may not be supported, but it is impossible to deny that Russia has grounds for them. Back in the day, Russia wasn't the same as today. For example, we didn't have our own SWIFT system, which means that if turned off, our banking system would collapse. However, today we all use this system since the SBP is nothing more than a part of the same system available to all citizens of Russia, and that is why Central Bank of Russia insisted so much on these implementations in all major banks. It is also a part of national payment card system, which we did not have, then that would allow Visa and MasterCard to turn us off at any moment, paralyzing the entire financial system of Russia, hitting in the most unprotected citizens. While queasy at ATMs, it's a best case scenario. Today even foreign systems are required to work through NPCK, which means that Visa and MasterCard will still work inside the country. But even if not, we have our own national payment system mirror, and some citizens have both physical MasterCard and a virtual mirror linked to their bank accounts, and they don't really need to worry about sanctions at all. The ones in their retirement, all without the exceptions, have mirrors, so they will definitely receive their pensions. Even chips for mirror cards are made in Russia's Leningrad at the Musicom plant, so here we don't depend on the West at all. So, all of this we did not have 8 years ago. 8 years ago, West could simply destroy our country's financial system, instantly stop any calculations, transfers and payments. It is not that you just couldn't withdraw money from ATM, no. This meant that stores could not pay for the purchase of goods, manufacturers could not pay for suppliers, they could not purchase components, and eventually would leave people without money to survive. The movement of money in the country would simply stop factories, empty store shelves, and completely paralyzed economy. In these 8 years, we have created a completely self-sufficient and highly powerful national system of payments and settlements. Moreover, we are able to connect those who are ready to trade with us even if we are disconnected from SWIFT. And if you think that this is the end, you are dead wrong. Remember the idea of sovereign internet? At the beginning they laughed at it, and now we hear voices insisting on disconnection of Russia from the worldwide network. 8 years ago, our RUNET, Russian segment of internet, could not work without global network, as our traffic went through Western servers. I will not need to check it, but today, even if we are disconnected inside Russia, RUNET will work just as before. 8 years ago, we did not have gas and oil pipelines to China. There was no Turkish Stream, there was no Yamal LNG, which means that West could just simply block export of our energy resources, and now they can't. Except obviously if they want to kill themselves, then go ahead. Of course, I'm not saying that we will not be harmed at all. Yes, people rushed to withdraw cash in some places and there was shortage of cash in ATMs. Of course, today there is no possibility to pay with Google Pay, although you can pay with a physical MasterCard normally. And yeah, it is still not entirely clear what and how restrictions on the import of chips will impact normal life. Let's see how the restrictions in the aircraft industry will affect us, although the work on SSJ New is in the full swing and in 2 years everything will be done and ready. And yeah, we did wing for MS-21 too, and do not need for any foreign one. But all of this is nothing compared to what awaited us if for all these 8 years we would do nothing. Today's challenges are just annoying inconveniences compared to those consequences that awaited us. Today Russia is disconnected from SWIFT. So, what are the main challenges? The news has just arrived. The European Union and United States have agreed to disconnect several Russian banks from the SWIFT interbank payment system. Here are some of the banks that are under West sanctions and will be disconnected from SWIFT: Sberbank, VTB, VEP, Russia, Musicom Bank, and a number of others. If this happened back in 2014, when this measure has just begun to be discussed, then this would have caused a powerful collapse not only to the country's banking system, but of the entire Russian economy in general. In fact, this decision would block not only international but also all domestic interbank payments. This means that no one could pay for goods, services, salaries, pensions, and many more. But it's 2022 now, and that's why we won't notice anything. In fact, no one will notice anything. Inside the countries, our own system has been operating for a long time now. But outside, not all banks are blocked, which means payments will go through the banks that have not been under sanctions. Problems can begin when all banks are switched off, but then not only Russia will have problems, but everyone, as it will in fact temporarily stop import of oil and gas and other resources from Russia, which means it will create crazy deficits in the markets, which will skyrocket all the prices. However, rather quickly, with those who need it, trade will be restored through Russian payment system, and those who do not need it will not trade with us even if SWIFT is on. If you liked the video, be sure to subscribe and ring the bell.